Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Wednesday, July 21st. CJ, you know what day that is? You know what day today is? It's Hump Day.
Hump Day?
CJ did not want to say it. He knew it, but he didn't want to say it.
It's Hump Day. Thank you all for joining us today. Greatly appreciate it, as always. And of course, we're going to break down the Bitcoin, the big board markets, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and see what's going on there. But as the title states, we're going to discuss the Elon Jack discussion that happened earlier today, if any of you missed it. So definitely stay tuned for that. Other than that, CJ, Ryan is off. I hear there's heavy construction going on in the house. He can't hear anything. He can't talk properly. So you're on double, triple duty here, buddy.
You know, it's pretty, I don't want to bore the audience too much, but it's pretty funny. Monty has gotten brutal construction at his place. I have construction going on above my head as well in the next floor. I don't know. It's just that time of year, I suppose, in the apartments in the city. So, you know, we'll work.
I asked Monty earlier in the day. I said, you know, what do you think all this construction means? And yesterday he had a bunch of beeping from the trucks backing up and everything. And he thinks this is new indicators, the construction index indicator, and apparently all that beeping is a sell signal. I don't know.
Well, actually, I mean, now that CJ puts it that way, you know, we are kind of like being plagued by construction. It's all around us, so that is bullish. People are building. You know, people are spending money.
That is true, Monty. I like how you turned that into a positive, my friend. And I'm also glad to see the sneaker garage is back.
Yeah, well, my window in my room is way too close to the window where all those trucks are dumping. So I had to move out here today. But yeah, showcasing the sneakers as well.
Very cool.
All right, let's talk about Bitcoin and get to that. But first, just want to remind everybody that nothing said by Market Rebellion or Trade the Chain should be considered financial advice, as I share the disclaimer right here. We always do this for educational and informative purposes only, guys. You know, we want to teach and we're here to entertain. Also, Trade the Chain is brought to you by TradeTheChain.com, an AI-driven sentiment indicator and dashboard alert system with actionable alerts to help you beat the market. Also comes with a community of traders worldwide sharing their victories and defeats, but you can check that out and get a 14-day risk-free trial at TradeTheChain.com. Also, you can see a little bit more bullish here on the dashboard today. So if you'd like to see how all of this stuff works and more, check out TradeTheChain.com for that 14-day risk-free trial. Also, we have marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get exclusive trade insights on a weekly basis, as well as our macro portfolio indicators and kind of personal investment research. We also have live webinars, as you can see each week. We had one earlier in today. And so you can definitely check that out at marketrebellion.com/crypto. We appreciate that, guys. Like you can see on the bottom of the screen, just $1. So
just $1.
Yeah. But in terms of plugs, that is all I got. Gentlemen, anything to start the day with?
You know, we were talking at the beginning of the show real quick, and Monty was talking about all the construction going on. You were talking about all the construction going on. Ryan NFT hair Gorman can't be on because of the construction going on. And, you know, reading in the comments, or somebody who said in Phoenix there's construction going on, that actually is a bullish indicator. And I'm glad to see that there is construction going on because, you know, I mean, that just goes to show that consumer confidence is still strong. I wouldn't say, you know, it's resounding, but at least people are still plugging away.
Yeah.
Some quality fundamental analysis right there, Alex.
Thank you very much, sir. Beep, beep, beep.
It's like sometimes when I want to, play Target's earnings, I'll just go hang out in their store and see if people are coming in. That's quality.
Now,
Same thing with Home Depot.
That's called boots on the ground research, CJ. It's a real thing.
Hold on a second. If anybody wants to be entertained about boots on the ground research, just go follow Pete Najarian on his Twitter account, okay? Because first of all, if you don't know, John and Pete Najarian, who are regularly on CNBC, are the co-founders of Market Rebellion, and he tweets from the parking lots of like Best Buy and Home Depot to see how traffic is going. It's hilarious.
All right. Why don't we get to the charts? This is pretty interesting. We had the pump earlier because of the B-word conference that we'll discuss, but we're now kind of getting a pull-off and kind of a sell the news type event. But here, as I share my screen. So first of all, let's take a look at the S&P 500 because we're maybe not we per se, but there was many scared about the S&P as we had that regression to the moving average. Earlier today, you can see on the 4-hour chart, we hit that TD sequential 9, bottom of yesterday actually. And then boom, immediate rally. And now we're back above that moving average, looking like we're probably going to take out new all-time highs here. We look on the daily chart, we can see that, really where we've been talking about confirmation on this level the entire time is getting a candle like this at the bottom of a downtrend. And, typically we rally, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. And so, while, I will say this month is not necessarily the month to be a hero, but, it's just we're not stopping yet, and the S&P is still looking strong. And one chart that I really like that one of our technical analysts at Market Rebellion put together is from Brian McCormick. And this is one that it's really like, whoa. And I kind of keep this one in my back pocket just to remind ourselves, like we have no idea certain cases how high markets can go when we have kind of this two-legged cycle phase of the stock market. We had it all the way up into the 90s, going up into 2000. And, if we were to follow a similar pattern, we would just be starting that second leg of the bull market cycle in the S&P 500. So like, I'm not totally convinced as of now that, we're going to go into this drastic depression. A 10% correction in the stock market is not like a great depression. Also, it's very important. I always like to look and wait for a confirmed lower high, this 0.12 here, before actually going short on a market cycle. We haven't had a lower high yet if we look at the S&P, so that's going to be very critical and something that we watch for. But enough of the traditional markets rallying. Let's talk about Bitcoin, and let's talk about specifically how prices reacted ever since the conference, or that discussion, I guess I should say. But we've still maintained the bullish divergence in the RSI, pretty promising sign showing that while we could go down, I'm thinking that these levels are really the furthest down we go realistically. I am getting more bullish definitely after today's price action, but it's kind of crazy. I did not even change this line, this downward sloping trend line that you can see. We've had that for days there highlighted, and we just wicked up directly to that level, and we're rejected like perfectly. So that's rather interesting, and it shows the legitimacy of this descending triangle to me and the resistance that we're likely going to continue to face here at about 34K. So, while it's good to have a little bit of bullish price action, there's nothing really that significant that's telling me, okay, it's time to get long. I definitely am not short anymore. I closed the puts kind of late last night. We got to the upper 30,000s. But, the one thing I guess I'll leave us with here is that if we look at Bitcoin from a macro cycle perspective, if we look at the MACD first off and these bearish crossovers, like we are technically, we are consistent technically with the beginning of a macro bear market cycle. The only difference here, well, I think it's a major difference, but you can see it here as well. You know, that lack of bullish crossover, that lack of turn up in the TSI, the True Strength Index, it shows that, you know, we may have some further bearish price action judging by the weekly chart. In terms of a macro bear market cycle, I just feel there's too much money coming into the space. There's too much things that are differently this time around fundamentally for us to go into, you know, a bear market cycle. I think we got a little bit of a falling wedge here on the weekly. Doesn't mean we can't go down and test some of these lower levels in the mid 20,000s, but if we are to break out of that falling wedge, I think that's another indication that tells us, hey, we're probably going to continue to consolidate and then potentially continue upward on this second leg of the bull market cycle. So it's interesting. It really is. But anything you guys want to add to that?
Well, I'm real curious before Monty dives into his side of the markets. Exactly. I mean, I ask you this at least once a week, CJ, and it's about how your conviction is and if it has changed from the prior week. What are you feeling today? We're midweek. We've had a rough start to it, by the way. How is your conviction now in the direction of going up or down? Still with that second leg?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still flat at the time being. I'm really looking and watching some certain alts carefully to see if I want to scale in. We just haven't really seen a bottom yet, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm neutral on Bitcoin's trend collectively. We saw a really nice bounce paired with a TD buy 9 today as well. But we just haven't seen the follow through. You know, I think the Asian market open during that session later tonight for us is going to be incredibly important to see whether Asia decides to buy into this rally or sell it. Because if they sell it, I think the downtrend is going to become, you know, further legitimized, and we may even move towards 25K. So I still think the bulls have a lot of work cut out for them. But
do you let me ask you this. Do you think that, and a comment up on the screen right now, 2022 in the second leg, you know, my firm belief is still the September to December run. I don't believe this is going into 2022, or at least not that far, with a second leg bull run. What are your thoughts on that? And I ask this to both Monty and CJ.
Why don't you take that one, Monty?
Yeah, no problem. I still, you know, am on the same timeline as you, Alex. I think this end of year, potentially end of September, early October, is going to likely be the start of that next leg up. And I think if we look back to the end of last year as kind of a guide for what we could see, you know, I think we can kind of make a good estimate as to when exactly, you know, this money is going to start coming in. Like I pointed out in yesterday's show, last year at the end of the year, around October, that's when we really started to see institutional capital come into the space. It was a more steady and slow grind up from 10K, but that was because of the more heavy-handed institutional smart money that was entering the space at that time. I'm seeing a similar thing now because that was preceded by lots of investment in institutional infrastructure. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. So I think that, you know, the institutions are still waiting for some more retail capitulation. A lot of people in the comments have been talking about how, you know, today's positive price action looks like a bull trap. I'm inclined to agree with them. CJ mentioned 25K as, you know, a level that we likely will retest. And I agree. I think that, you know, we're still in a descending formation. And until we start getting some consolidation towards the bottom, that next leg up is still, you know, a few weeks out. So I'm with you, Alex. I think that September, October, still 2021 is a realistic timeline for that next leg up.
Agreed. No matter how pessimistic Mr. CJ may be, I do want to point out something. We do have a comment up from Landon Castle, who you know, drives the number 4 Trade the Chain Voyager car in NASCAR. You guys are going to be at Indy. Who's your driver again?
Tommy Joe Martins. It'll be very, very competitive. We've got a lot riding on this.
Now we are going to we're going to get some betting going on here. I don't know if it's legal or not, but I mean, Landon, your driver did have a good showing up in New Hampshire. He even took a nice smack against the wall. But I don't know about Indy. It's Landon's kind of fired up. I think we got maybe an attitude chance here. What are you thinking?
It's pretty funny. This was not me personally who said it, but the higher ups at Market Rebellion said and made it very clear: under no circumstances are you to lose to Landon and the Voyager car.
Are we allowed to sit in the same suite together, you and I, or is that forbidden too?
We'll be there. We'll be hanging out. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Landon, thank you for popping in. Appreciate it. And there'll be some good competition fun over at Indianapolis on August 14th. So you can watch both the Market Rebellion and Trade the Chain cars go head-to-head in competitive battle.
Yes, we'll have to make a wager before that happens, Alex. On the show, we'll make a wager for everyone to see. We'll do it before the show.
Yeah, we'll make it fun and interesting for everybody. Absolutely. Monty, with regards to Ethereum, what's going on over there? We just spoke about the DeFi index fund that Grayscale is putting out. What are we looking up? Does anybody have a lockup chart by any chance to pull up? Because I'm curious to see within this, we've had this sideways action with Ethereum and with the market overall pretty much the whole month. So now would be a great time to take a look at that chart to see if there's been any improvement or decline with DeFi lockup and how we're doing.
It basically just like the altcoin market cap. If you go to like total and then you zoom out and go all,
Yeah, I mean, not too much to say about this. I mean, it looks very comparable to the ETH chart. Just take a look at this. I mean, we peaked up here. The TVL was up around 90 billion at that point. But as ETH came down, so did a lot of those DeFi assets. And not surprisingly, the total value locked trended down as well. But we did see this little uptick. CJ and I have been talking about some of these, DeFi assets like Comp and, some others as well. Aave, Uni, they've actually been performing relatively well and have been showing some, technical divergence from the rest of the market. So still, this little peak right here is somewhat noteworthy. But, for the most part, this is very comparable to ETH and even Bitcoin in the sense that we're in a bit of a descending formation here.
Yeah, the outlook is still bright. I'm really still a proponent of what Aave's doing on the institutional financial products and DeFi. As a matter of fact, I'm going to reach out to Stani, see if we can get him on the show with us to kind of go over what they're doing. But, as far as the DeFi summer is concerned, I think it's just going to hold its own for right now. There's nothing going to be spectacular as far as an outlier from, let's call it an arbitrage point of view. So we'll see. Let's get to the Jack Dorsey versus Elon Musk bout that happened earlier today. If anybody was watching, this happened around 2:00 p.m. Eastern time. I watched it. I even had NFT hair over here. Gorman sitting on the couch. We put it up on the big screen TV. Before I open my mouth on a reaction to it, what are your first initial thoughts when you watched it, guys? CJ?
Meh. I mean, it was pretty civil discussion. I thought it was cool how Elon talked about basically just his holdings. He also talked about really how favorable Tesla was to Bitcoin and to improving the world. I mean, he made it very clear that Bitcoin is a good thing, but there are some obstacles in the way of energy and scaling that need to be improved. And I think it's completely reasonable to be honest about that. But in terms of a bullish catalyst for price, it was nothing out of the ordinary. And if you didn't watch it, I found it entertaining to see those three individuals in the same room, but there was nothing that noteworthy or that market moving about it.
Yeah, I mean, CJ, I think you said it best before the show, is like there was nothing that we didn't really expect that came out of that. The one thing I think that maybe I didn't know coming into that we know now, is that Elon holds some ETH. I guess I was kind of surprised by that, but he said it's, dwarfed by his Bitcoin holdings. But, I'm glad it was civil. I'm glad it wasn't, a joke, and Elon wasn't out there, doing something stupid at least. So hopefully that kind of starts the shift of sentiment towards the positive direction.
I think there were some really cool stuff that both Elon and Jack Dorsey said, just in terms of like their political philosophies, where Jack Dorsey really acknowledged flaws and exploits in the current financial system and how Bitcoin can advocate for, world peace by fixing the system. Not my words, literally his. And then Elon said, governments are massive corporations with a monopoly over finance and money. And so if you hate corporations, you should hate governments more. I think that's incredibly powerful. And I was really glad to hear both of those individuals kind of hint at that quasi-libertarian mindset, but not be too over the top about it.
It was interesting to see Jack Dorsey quote, I am not a fan of corporations. I've been scared of corporations. Yet he runs two of the largest corporations in America. So that was interesting. But I want to just, first, my comment, I found it extremely boring. Okay, not going to lie. I was really pumped up yesterday. I spoke to Rob over at Digital Asset News. I spoke to you guys. I was like, we're going to cover this thing. We even pushed the show back to 4:15 p.m. today in order to get to it. I was falling asleep. A couple of the comments at Elon Musk, and I made some notable comments from both sides. I had like a pro and con board going on. Elon Musk, love this one.
Show us your notes. Show us your notes.
EM and JD. And thank you for calling me out, CJ. So the first one, Elon Musk. I pump, but I don't dump. I love that one. I don't know where that came from. The fact he actually said it was hilarious. Another notable quote from Elon Musk, I would like Bitcoin to succeed. Well, thank you, Elon. That's great. I'm glad it has your blessing. Bitcoin or Ethereum with layer 2 could make it better for transactional adoption. Some little countries have done it. I took that and it was like somebody just lit a light bulb in my head. I love dogs and I love memes. All right. Process that. Wait, hold on. The last one from Elon Musk. It would be funny if the joke crypto became the leading cryptocurrency, and he's referring to Dogecoin in this. Those were the comments that came out of Elon Musk. Now, to put it into, to compare and contrast with Jack Dorsey, these were a couple of bullet points of his comments. Square supports open source Bitcoin. Love it. That was a great to the point thing. Wanted to not disrupt when he was deciding to get into Bitcoin, his stance, he said, the thought process wanted to not disrupt the community or the asset, meaning Bitcoin, before Square came into the space. Okay, acknowledge some thought pattern before just going onto Twitter and tweeting some crap out. His own inside inclination for Square and for Twitter is a push for a more decentralization on companies he runs, Twitter and Square. Those were thoughtful bullet points where Elon Musk could have been smoking the 420. There was a big dichotomy in the two attitudes there. Both smart guys, both rulers of the world in their own mind, but it wasn't what I was prepared for. That's all.
Well, let's talk about probably the most insightful person there, or who at least was the most insightful, which is Mrs. Wood.
Yep.
I thought Kathy Wood brought some great points to our attention, namely around energy concerns. A lot of the energy concerns we actually were aware of, but the other ones that she brought to attention, which I haven't visited in a while, was the benefit and use case and statistics around remittances and how remittances actually contribute to a vast portion of GDP. for a lot of countries, like El Salvador, for instance. I believe she said 24% was roughly kind of the GDP or remittances. And essentially, the takeaway was the emphasis of all of these smaller countries and how reliant they are on remittances, and how Bitcoin can improve that and improve the lives of the citizens of the world for that reason. So thought those were great points, and it was really nice to get a refresher on those.
Yeah, I like seeing her in the mix for sure. It kind of brought a little adultness to the room. Although I listen, I got to be honest with you. I was all up for Jack. He was doing a great job, even if he was wearing a tie-dye shirt and drinking water out of one of those glass containers. He's cool as crap. I mean, the goatee, he had me at that. Monty.
Well, that's one of the spectacular things about Bitcoin, right? Is that you have members of the community like Jack Dorsey on one end, and then like Cathie Wood on the other. You have, Cathie Wood, a very sharp-minded investor that looks at Bitcoin for a financial asset and what it can do in terms of, not just monetary policy, but also the utility, like CJ was talking about, in terms of remittance payments. And then you have people like Jack Dorsey on the other end that are, he was clearly very caught up with the Bitcoin ethos and making sure that, Bitcoin core developers are paid fairly, and that, that this isn't just looked at as a monetary vehicle, and that it is, recognized as a potential vehicle for change in the world, in everyone's lives. So, it's cool to see both of those people on the same show, and they were kind of, in agreement in almost everything.
Now, all three of those folks are fiduciaries. Okay, they either in charge of a company that's public, or Square's public. Square's public, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Had a brain fart there for a second, but they're all fiduciaries in their own right, either head of public companies or asset managers, such as Cathie Wood is, who's one of the most prolific asset managers right now on Wall Street. Do you think that when they speak, and you take a look at Elon Musk's body language and his thought process when he talks, as opposed to Cathie Wood, who's very calculated, understands the world is watching, and that she's responsible for money that, well, they all are, that could be in 401ks and retirement plans. What do you think goes through Elon's head or Cathie's head? I mean, let's just get down to it. This is what people want to know, all right? Let's not butter it up. I mean, what's Elon thinking when he comes in all puffy looking and saying how much he loves memes and doggies?
I don't know. I feel like Elon's always like that. He's got a lot going on in that head of his. I know people like that, that are, very intelligent, but also, very scatterbrained in a lot of senses. But one thing I thought was interesting was Elon seemed very caught up in the in like dissuading the perception that he is driving down the price of Bitcoin for his own monetary gain, like buy back in lower. Like he kept saying, like, if Bitcoin goes down, that hurts me. I have a lot of Bitcoin. It's like, yes, we get that. Okay, like calm down a little bit. But I don't know. It almost reminded me like a guilty person a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is I don't think he has enough time in his daily schedule from running 3 companies to actually think that, right? He's not pulling up Trade the Chain or Market Rebellion going, oh, got to buy the dip right now, guys. Hold on, pull the Tesla over. So it's interesting. CJ, as we go through this week, and it's been a rough week for the first half of it, is there any shining light for the second half you could impart on us, or are we just going to have to hang on to our handlebars?
Yeah, I want to make a point about sentiment, specifically with the crypto fear and greed index very quickly here. So if we took a look at the crypto fear and greed index, I mean, there are very few times in my career in watching Bitcoin that we've been this low in terms of extreme fear. If we go back to the all-time chart of the fear and greed index, this is all throughout the bear market of 2018. And really, when we get to values which are comparable today, I don't even think we went below 10 in the absolute bear market when we hit $3,000, in the crash from 6K to 3K in the bear market of 2018. Then, we fast forward, we had all this bull rally to 14K over, kind of the spring to summer of 2019. And then COVID hit and we went down to single digits, I believe. Yeah, the lowest point we hit was 2 days after the massive March crash after COVID. And as you can see, we're back in those areas. And we've actually been down here for quite a while now. But, this just, it shows me, yes, people are so bearish in the short term, but the fundamentals of this are just still so strong. If you told me in 2018 that the world's richest individual and, some of the best fund managers and Jack Dorsey were all going to be sitting down talking to one another, I would consider that a great success on Bitcoin's behalf. So, I know crypto Twitter wants to turn bullish in the blink of an eye, and the B word conference is already trending on Twitter. I get the bullish sentiment, but I don't want to embrace it fully yet because let's take out some critical levels first before we get super excited.
100%. All right. Before we go, Monty, could you give us a close up of the Ben & Jerry's Nike, please? Folks, look at this piece of artwork right here.
I actually just got these ones like today.
What are those? Are those
Travis Scott Nike SB Dunks?
Those things are like works of art. I love it. I'm glad to see
my little cousin came to visit this weekend, and we went to this sneaker store called Stadium Goods, and I got him some shoes, and I got myself some as well. So,
all right. Very cool. I like to see the collection growing. Folks, thank you for joining us today. Sorry about the late hour of the broadcast. Wanted to see if something exciting was going to be happening between Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey. But it turned out to really just kind of be a nothing burger. But it was good. It was interesting to see him on the same screen talking to each other and along with Kathy Wood. So that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hang on to your handlebars as always, and have a great evening. Take it easy.